Welcome back to another episode of the One-on-One podcast. I'm Josh Katz. Get up in my chair. I am joined by Kathy Baker and Ryan Esteban. It's good to see you both again. How are you two?
Good.
I'm good, but I'm sad.
Why are you sad, Kathy?
Did you see that Charles Barkley's going to retire?
Oh, yeah.
Damn. You really went there, Kathy. I had something happy to talk about, but no.
Okay, no, go ahead.
No. Because I want to talk about Charles because he's someone I actually use as inspiration for this podcast because he's so damn good at his job.
Yeah.
He's so good, and I've been saving myself for him.
Yeah. Is this where you take your timestamps?
Okay. I said it.
Kathy said it 1 minute in.
I'm sorry.
I don't think he's like out of the entertainment world. You know, I'm sure we will see something else from him. But yeah, it's just a bummer that like inside the NBA is no longer.
Well, but the thing about him is not only is he entertaining, I think he's very smart.
Mm-hmm.
I really, he's not just an entertainer. He knows the game, and he will be missed.
I completely agree. As we're the Euros are on right now, the soccer tournament in Europe, which is like a mini World Cup for all the countries that are just based in Europe. And we were just talking about it with my friends too, because the broadcasting that they're covering with it is so piss poor, for lack of other words.
Oh.
And it just takes away from like watching the actual tournament itself, right? Like part of what's so fun about watching the NBA is watching Ernie, Kenny, Shaq, and Chuck talk about the NBA.
Right.
So yeah, it's just a bummer that he's retiring.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Kathy.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bring it down.
No, it's okay. I'm going to save my other question for another podcast because it's a good one.
Okay.
So I'll ask you guys on another episode, but I want to introduce our guest who, Kathy, I know you know a lot better than I do. But Tammy McMahon from Realty One Group Coastal in Charleston, South Carolina is joining us. She's one of our coaches for 1.U and she's our health coach, right?
Mm-hmm. Coach.
Yes. Welcome, Tammy. How are you? Thank you for joining us.
I am good. I'm happy to be here.
I will have to tell you, Josh, when I first met her, it was like someone I'd known a long time. And being a lifestyle brand, we are thrilled at 1.U to be able to introduce someone with her experience, not only in providing a more holistic approach to life itself, but yet having a background in real estate. So she knows how crazy we are. And she brings her talent to that for a really wonderful solution. So Tammy, thank you for being here and thank you for being part of our family.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. Tammy, why don't you just tell us how you got into the game, like how you got into real estate, and then, we can obviously bring it all the way to how you became our health coach for 1.U.
Sure. Okay. So my husband and I, along with our 3 children, relocated to the Charleston area 8.5 years ago from Rhode Island. We are from New England.
Wait, I have to stop you. My parents live in Rhode Island. Where in Rhode Island?
Okay. Well, obviously, I must know where they live at the time of date. Warwick, Rhode Island.
Oh, yeah. My parents are in Bristol. That's hilarious.
Okay.
Yeah, I know Warwick very well. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead. Continue.
That's okay. Yeah. Very cool. Well, prior to us getting married, we had vacationed here, fell in love with it, and kept saying we were going to do it. We pretty much talked about it every day for 13.5 years. And finally, we were like, let's just put the house on the market and go. I'll tell you really quick, on the backside, I spent 16 years as a mental health counselor, and then I ran a life coaching health and wellness business for 7 years. That's what we moved here on. We moved here on my health and wellness business. I coached hundreds, thousands all over the country, Zooming way before Zoom was a thing. And I say that all because I was in the best shape of my life. I ran Spartans and I really lived a holistic life. And so anyway, we relocated here. We're actually in Somerville, and we said, let's rent for a little bit of time until we figure out where we want to be.
Sure.
Where we want to put down roots. So we signed a 6-month lease, and, I continued to, do my job and work, and the kids, I homeschooled them, and my husband, had gotten a job here. But pretty quickly, I started to get sick. I went from being the healthiest person to having symptoms just start to hit me over and over again. And, you chalk these symptoms up to other things. I was exhausted. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I just moved, packed and moved across, right. 1,000 miles, right? And then it was like eye blur, confusion. And then it just got a lot worse from there. That 6-month lease went to 1 year. Fast forward 1.5 years, and now I'm having way more health symptoms. And if we go to the 2-year mark, the end of 2017, we were talking about my funeral. I could no longer walk, talk, or drive, and I couldn't use the whole right side of my body. I had gained weight. I was losing my hair. I had insomnia. All kinds of things. My son was hallucinating, and that's why I mentioned my background in mental health. I actually specialized in schizophrenia. I knew he wasn't schizophrenic, but I didn't know what was going on. Mm-hmm. So anyways, called Boston, called all my doctors back there. I said, MUSC here, said that I had a brain tumor or MS. I didn't. Finally found a holistic doctor, an integrative doctor here in North Charleston, who's been treating environmental illnesses for over 50 years. And he said, you're dying from mold.
Wow.
And you've got to move really quick. So anyways, we were grateful for an answer, although I was really like, really? Mold? Right? A lot of people say that. So we left where we were. We moved into a hotel for 10 days. Then we finally found a healthy condo 3 days away from being homeless. And, we moved in there with our Cavalier, who also had all kinds of symptoms, our girls. And I told our kids, we're going to stay in gratitude for everything and anything that people bring us or help us with, because we had to let go of everything we ever had. 90% of everything, all of our belongings were contaminated.
Oh, wow.
So, pretty crazy. I mean, the kids were young at the time, and, I knew that I had to just stay positive for them. That was already a major traumatic situation for them, watching their mother deteriorate. Mm-hmm. And so anyway, we moved in to this healthy condo, and we started to slowly get better. It took a year. And then from there, I was like, I don't know what you want me to do with my life now, God, because my business tanked, obviously. And I didn't want to practice mental health in South Carolina. So just because it was kind of in the past, right?
Sure.
So I was like, well, I started digging and seeing that within real estate, there were no laws, regulations, or legislation in the state of South Carolina or most states in the country in regards to mold. So I got my real estate license, and I specialize in making sure that people don't buy moldy homes. And I do that same thing with building, making sure that when they're building a home, most builders know me. Some like me, some hate me. And that's okay, because it became my passion in life to make sure that people don't go through what we did. I love it. I love what I do. I love making sure that people, when they are moving into a home, that I can say for sure that it's not going to make them sick. I can give you an example. Just last week, put a house under contract for some people in New York. She's allergic to mold. She called me a year ago, and we just found them a beautiful home. When you look at it, it's gorgeous. You walk through it and you wouldn't see a single thing. Mm-hmm. When we ran a mold test on it, aspergillosis, which was in my lungs and in my brain, are supposed to be under 600. It was 74,000. That was the count. Penicillium was also like 90 something thousand when it's supposed to be under 600. Anyways, so, there was mold behind, the insulation in the frog. There was mold in the ductwork and mold in the crawl space. And that's where I'm able to now say, okay, this is what we have to do. And this is what we got to do to remediate it. And now I will facilitate that for them before they move in and, assure them that their home is safe. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, I just got to say, does that not make the hair on your arm stand up a little bit, Josh and Ryan?
Does.
I mean, because we hear about things like that, but me personally, I've never known anyone until I met Tammy.
Yeah. And
me living in North Carolina, and you guys don't have that. this much in California, but we have a lot of flooded areas.
Yeah.
And when we have tropical rains and when we have the rivers rise and the oceans swell, you end up having flooding, and mold is the silent killer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I just think we're so lucky to be able to bring not only this topic to the podcast, but to our brand, to be able to raise the awareness and to do a little bit of risk management. But more importantly, wow, what a well-balanced, miraculous story this is.
Yeah.
Right?
First of all, Tammy, thank you for sharing your story. We really do appreciate it. I'm almost, it kind of pisses me off, for lack of other words. Like, my question is from Ryan and I, from an outsider looking in, why is that not part of the inspection, like a normal inspection process?
Yeah, it's not. It's just not. Well, first of all, it costs more money, right? And I'll be very honest with you. People don't want to know.
It's interesting. Like, ignorance is bliss, and they would rather just.
Oh, yes. I mean, I have people call me probably, all right, I would say 1 to 3 times a week that are sick. And when I start running down symptoms with them, because I also did go get mold certified to protect my own self, obviously, because I didn't speak about mold. So I'm actually a mold consultant and specialist where I can test. I just don't. But they know I can come in and I can guide them and I can help them and I can tell them, like, here are all the symptoms. People don't realize, like, you can chalk up all these things to other things, but I mean, it leads to every kind of mental health disorder and physical ailment that people have. And they just don't realize it, especially when you're spending that much money on a brand new home that you're going to move into, whether it was a resale or new construction. And you expect, like, this is going to be amazing. I am so excited. We've saved our money, or we sold another one, or we relocated. Right. And your dream now is like a nightmare, because everybody's sick and nobody understands. But I'll tell you right now, I'll say to them, this is what you need to do. It's as simple as, hey, there's an ERMI test you can do, ERMI. Literally go buy it. Here's the link for it, $4.90. It's going to tell you if your house has mold. I'm going to walk you through how to do that test, and they don't want to know. Yeah. They don't want to know, because then they got to remediate, right? And then it's like, you know, do they have to sell? They don't want to leave their things. They don't want to get rid of their things. But here's what I told my kids. If we didn't, I would have been dead. Yeah. He said within 1 month. And I'm glad we did. I'm so glad. And if you talk to any of my teenagers now, they'll tell you this. I know it sounds crazy, but it was a blessing for what we went through, because it led us to where our life is now.
Sure.
And it's, Josh and Ryan, it's a lot like radon, or similar to radon, where it's that silent thing that there are special tests for it. But again, if you know you have to disclose, if you know you have to take steps,
but so let me ask,
becomes a material fact.
Let me ask a question. Let's say you have a home that was built in the 70s and it's had mold for the last 35 years, and you'd finally do a test in 2024. How expensive is it, besides getting rid of all of the things, the actual things inside your furniture and appliances and whatever else? How expensive is it to get rid of the mold? Obviously based on square footage, but just
that, I mean, a lot of factors, right? So if you're saying that it was built, what'd you say? When did you say?
I said 70. So let's just say it had mold for 3 decades.
And it's continued to accumulate all that time. Never.
Like, does that house need to be blown up at that point?
Yeah.
Okay.
This would be bad. I mean, I'm not going to call out the college, but there's a college here that has $10 million worth of mold work that needs to be done to remediate, and they won't do it. Wow. That's in the Post and Courier. You can look that up.
Wow.
Why? Because it's that much money, right? For example, I mean, you know, the one that we're going to be doing is under 10,000. The other thing is that insurances stopped covering it in the 1980s because they were going bankrupt.
Interesting.
We found that out the hard way, as we called our insurance. And then obviously who we were renting from had no, you know, zero responsibility, because it's in every single lease that you can have mold where you live, right? It's written by an attorney, making sure that they're protecting themselves.
Sure. So
therefore, there's no lawsuits in that sense either. You've destroyed our entire life, physically, financially, mentally, all of it, business. So, but there's no repercussions. And it's so painful to watch that over and over and over and over again here. I mean, I'm just going to say it right now. I have not even told Kathy, but I'm in the middle of opening up a nonprofit. That should be up and running by October.
That's amazing.
Because at this point with real estate, I am paying for people. I am. That's what I do. And I told my husband the other day, I can't sustain it anymore. Right? Like when the nurse calls me, who was a nurse for 30 years, and she's literally crying, I'm dying, Tammy. And she, like, integrative doctors, $1,200 to walk in, $1,000 a month because your insurance they don't cover it. The CDC does not recognize mold as something that can kill you. They say it's an allergen. I could go on and on.
No, it's we obviously appreciate your passion. There's a reason why, like, Kathy has recruited you to 1.U to coach about this.
Yeah. Well, and I love the fact that even through all this, there's no bitterness, there's no vengeance. It's, how do I give back? How do I help? So let's fast forward if we can and talk about your coaching program, because you have made mold gold.
You're so funny.
I'm wound up today. I don't know what was in my coffee this morning. I'm sorry, guys.
We need it. Whatever it is, pass it over. So in regards to like coaching, I saw, another aspect of agents that are in need of somebody to be able to be there for their wellness, right? As an agent myself, we went through 2020, 2021, and a lot of 2022, working at a pace that was just totally insane, right? None of us were going to be able to continue to sustain that because it was just more than we could even begin to describe, right? We were all just go, go, go 24/7. It's like people were buying homes like we've never seen before. And by the time you get in the car, the house is already under contract, right? All over the country. And so we came out of that, and I see a lot of agents, and I've helped a lot of agents to really start to focus on the fact that they weren't taking care of themselves anymore. They are, they remained in that survival mode instead of going back to like being able to thrive with it in their business and their personal life. And so, and I'll be honest with you, guilty. And that's why I was like, okay, let's put on the brakes. Something's got to change, because we can't live there. We have to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves. We're going to burn out, and not just our business, but our relationships, our home life, our physical health, everything will deteriorate. Right. Yeah. So that was what I had started really working on with agents was, are you taking care of yourself? Like, even when they would call me, and I know how fast, like, they're like, hey, I need no information on this. I'm like, did you eat today? Have you drank any water? Right. Or are you living off of coffee and happy hours? Right. Because you can't sustain that. Right. And I started seeing, this is an unfortunate piece. I had an agent that my family and I were really close to. He took his own life. We watched another one attempt suicide, and I've watched a ton of divorces. So that really just started to tell me, I think that, our general public have no idea what realtors do. They think that we are HGTV. That is the truth. I actually was told that by a family member, and I had to correct them that, no, this is probably the hardest job I've ever done in my life. And I worked in psych hospitals. Yeah. Because if you don't put up boundaries, and you don't learn to say no and have time management, this job will run you, right? Yeah. And so that's where I'm really passionate about. I want to make sure that agents are taking care of themselves, have somebody in their corner that's checking on them. Like I've got a small group where just a few agents are able to be in there. It's confidential. It's other agents that know this life. Right. And accountability. Daily accountability, weekly, monthly, different themes that we're going to be talking about, but also continuing to come around and make sure that they're not dropping the ones that we've just covered the month before, right? And then a one-on-one, and when they're working with me one-on-one, we're going to go deeper into other things that they really want to work on. But I really want to make sure that people are not allowing their relationships to just go while they're building this business, because then what? You've got your business, but your whole life just completely collapsed in the background.
Well, I think you bring up a good point of finding the balance between work-life balance, but also realizing as a real estate agent, you're your own boss. You're running your own business. You're running the show. And so it can, I'm not in that game, but I've worked for this company long enough to see that if you don't have a balance, the other things in your life can go haywire. So I think it's awesome that we have brought you on to to coach so many other professionals in our network because, they need it. And you also, I think you, just from the last 20 minutes alone, you clearly have such a giving heart. You're in this for the right reasons. You're in this to help people. There's a paycheck that comes with it, but I mean, that hasn't even come up yet in this conversation. And so I know that you're in this for the right reasons, which is amazing. And I know that's why Kathy recruits the best for 1.U.
Well, thank you. I was really excited to see that there was a coaching program. I was like, where? Who do I talk to? Who do I call? Because I felt like that's what I love to do. And even when it comes to your clients, you're doing the same thing. You're coaching them, and I do tell my story to every single one because they have to know why I do this.
Totally.
Would you just go over the main components, because it's a very organized, Josh and Ryan, it's a very organized, very comprehensive coaching plan. Mm-hmm. And before we get off the phone, I want to make sure our participants and our listeners understand this is a very, very well thought out. She's bringing tremendous experience to the table for us.
Totally.
So can you talk?
Yes. So anybody who decides to work with me, if they do decide that they want to do one-on-one, they would obviously, it's going to be tailored to what it is that they're looking to achieve. And it's going to be a whole plan written out for them. And obviously we're going to go over that plan, make sure that, their goals are attainable goals, and then hold them accountable for it. If they're local, we're going to be able to meet in person. If they're not, then obviously we're able to do it this way, which is really great. And we're blessed to be able to have this. And then in our smaller groups, the person who's doing the one-on-one also has access to that group. And that in that group, every single day, I'm going to be in there, again, talking about. So once a month, we're going to talk about a certain topic, whether it's boundaries or time management or how to say no. I have a whole plan for an entire 12 months. Actually, it's already written out, but I don't have it in front of me. And then from there, that's broken down to weekly and daily. And they're going to be given forms where they're going to be able to make sure that they're writing down if they're staying on task with what it is that they're trying to achieve, including themselves, right? Mm-hmm. Like, where is my mental health today? How do I feel today? Do people really ask themselves that? Because I do. You have to. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, I'm not really feeling good today. What is my problem? Oh, that's right. It was that phone conversation earlier that really upset me. Okay, I got to let that go. Or talk it out with somebody and just let it go, right? Checking in with themselves, making sure that they're getting out for a walk, that they're eating, that they're, journaling. We're also going to do even book studies quarterly, and then Q&A biweekly. So that's just a little brief. I've also talked to Kathy about the fact that I will eventually even branch out a little bit more than that, because I love running retreats as well. That would be an opportunity for them to be able to attend. Yeah. Which would be more in-depth, in-person retreats.
Totally. So that's amazing.
That would be fabulous.
Yes, I'm excited.
No, it's honestly, it's all good things, Kathy. I think this is a really good episode. I think this is really good for the network. I know another thing that Realty One Group is doing that I know other brands in the industry are not. So yeah, we seriously thank you, Tammy, for joining us and giving your talents and expertise to 1.U as well.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I am blessed to be here and a part of this wonderful company.
When we talk about be golden, be you, I think Tammy is such a great example of the love of the L. And, that love starts with loving yourself too. And when you're a servant leader, which I believe with all my wholeheartedly that realtors are, you just have to pause and take care of yourself. So we are just so thrilled to have Tammy on board to remind us to do that. Yep. So thank you.
I agree.
Thank you.
Well, let's end there because Kathy said it perfectly. Thank you, guys. We thank you for joining us today on another episode of One-on-One, a Realty One Group podcast. We are powered by 1.U and ask if you have suggestions, recommendations, or questions, please email learning@realtyonegroup.com. And remember, pay close attention to the details, listen to understand, not respond, and always be a resource, not a sales pitch.